Agentic AI and Autonomous Systems. And the esteemed moderator is Mr. Shami Kapoor. Shami, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Shiba. And I would want to thank the Women Lead Congress for this wonderful opportunity. I think it's great to be a part of this cohort and forum and to hear from such esteemed speakers. This is something which is a need of an hour. And the team has been driving a lot on global ethical AI. So without taking much of the time of the wonderful people who are there with me on the call, allow me to introduce my wonderful team who is there on this panel. I will introduce first Mr. Dr. Mansoor. Good evening, Dr. Mansoor. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Alhamdulillah.
Wonderful. Great to hear from you. Second, our panelist is Miss Lina. Good evening, Lina.
Good evening. Good evening, Shami. How are you? And how's everybody?
I am good. Glad to see you on this panel. And our last panelist with us is Dr. Justin.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good afternoon.
Assalamu alaikum. Everything fine? Everything good?
All well. All good. All good. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
It's great to be a part with all of you. And I think the topic is really, really interesting because we keep the AI, like we breathe. I think AI has become a part of our breathe where we want to just do everything on AI. And that's why we believe that a lot of things through agentic AI and the autonomous systems are going to bring a lot of changes for us. Now, if you just hold on to this thought, and if I come to Dr. Mansoor, and I'm very keen to, ask this to you that if we as a normal individual have to do a distinguishing between what is an agentic AI will do from a normal automation changes, what to look forward for. And lastly, if you pick up a generative AI, which is absolutely creating a buzz these days, how will you see this entire transition which is happening?
Well, talking about agentic AI, mostly it's associated with generative AI. I mean, as far as we see, I mean, there are so many courses, so many platforms coming up. Like, every day there is a tool to work with generative AI, and having an agent in place to carry out a lot of functions, a lot of processes to be automated. And it's happening. People are doing it because I'm one of the member of one of the group which is working on AI automation through agentic approach, and people are building I have seen even I've built one tool lately wherein I give the topics Sunday, and the tool will the day and the topic and post it on my LinkedIn. So this process is automated, auto reply to your email or create a draft for you. So in this area, administrative area where it talks about simple processes, personal processes, that is very straightforward. Coming to work related AI automation, AI agentic AI is basically a model. It's an approach. So not necessarily it's related only to generative AI. Like you have traditional machine learning, you can create models based on the traditional learning. And once you create a model, you can create an API and host it on your platform, and then use that API as a tool. And then you can build your own small language models. You can build your own mini language models based and very focused with your domain. Like say, for example, there is a healthcare domain. I belong to the healthcare domain. So healthcare domain, a language model which deals with the healthcare related data will be treated as a small language model for healthcare. I can build a mini language model for genomics, which will take care of all genomic related data connected with the HIS system. So I can do what I want. But the problem here, is the topic which we have today, which is the ethical approach. Is it okay? Is it safe? Is it secure? So these are the things which we need to consider. People are building, like as I told you, people are building models. They are on a POC level. Some people are trying to use that, but there is no framework. There is no guidelines which will like make AI ethical. So the approach of using agentic AI is absolutely amazing. Once you have the agents in place in an organization, you can use them, you can deploy them, you can reuse them in whatever you want, in whatever area, whatever focused area you want, and this will automate a lot of processes. One more thing, like autonomous systems and AI agent. What is the difference? Actually, AI agents are a part of autonomous system. Autonomous
Yes,
system can be a physical system or a virtual system. We have robots, we have cars. These are all physical system. Agentic AI or AI agent can be a virtual thing. So it can be fully controlled, it can be partly controlled. For example, you have a self-driving car which is fully automated, fully autonomous. Then we have some features in a car where we have lane assist, auto parking. So these are some of the things which are automated, but the car is still controlled by the human being. So it can be fully controlled, it can be autonomous as well. So in healthcare, I'll give a perspective from the healthcare. Healthcare area is very sensitive. Here, AI is still a decision support system rather than decision making system, because we have a lot to do with the ethics, ethical compliance of the AI or AI agent or the algorithm with the outcome. So I think I answered the question.
lovely. I have just captured few thoughts. Absolutely. AI today is helping us to act like a thread and a stitch across multiple processes, which helps us to do a lot of things we want to do. Doctor, wonderful thing what you said across was today the concern is the ethical use of AI, and that keeps harping us as we really imbibe and embed it more into our day-to-day normal, activities or work or in our processes. Something which left your words with me was decision support system, decision giving system. Absolutely, these two are today an area where a lot of thoughts are going. Will it become a support system? Will it become a decisioning system? With that, if I keep this thought in mind, and Lena, if I have to ask you, what do you believe the agentic AI will help us to shift from becoming just a decision making tool, or actually it will just always act like a support system for all of our processes or our activities or whatever we want to use AI in? What's your views on it?
Look at it from an accountability point of view. And I would say that the answer here is pretty clear. Accountability does not belong to the agentic AI system itself. It belongs to the people and the organizations that built it, put it into play, and decided to trust it. So, when we talk about these autonomous AI systems that can make decisions on their own, it's easy to imagine them as some kind of independent actor. They process data, weigh options, take actions, and sometimes things go sideways in ways no one predicted. But here's the thing. AI doesn't have real intent, legal standing, or moral agency. And this is huge. It does not wake up in the morning and decide to do good or bad. It doesn't feel guilt or understand the human cost of a mistake, right?
Wonderful.
So treating the AI and the system like it's the one to blame just doesn't make sense. When harm happens, we've got to look upstream and ask, who designed this? Who deployed it? Who was supposed to be watching? And of course, I have to go and build on what Dr. Muhammad said, saying that there are certain industries where the human element is huge. AI is not making decisions per se. It is heavily supervised and overseen by the professionals. But we're looking at the scenario as things are moving really fast in the AI world. We are heading into a scenario where more and more we see that, this is an issue to discuss because things are happening fast, right? So let me break it down a bit. Accountability isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. It's shared, but in specific ways that match who had control at different stages. So start with the developer. The developers. They're the ones who create the system from the ground up. That means they own the training data, And the question is, did it have biases or gaps that could lead to bad calls? They own the testing. So the question is, they push the system hard enough to find edge cases. They own the safeguards like guardrails to prevent harmful outputs or escalation protocols. So if the system ships with known weaknesses, or if it's prone to hallucinations or unintended behaviors that a good developer should have caught, then yeah, they've got real skin in the game. It's like building a car, and if the brakes fail because of sloppy engineering, you don't blame the car, right? You blame the engineer. But here's where it gets interesting. Even a well-built system can cause trouble if it's used wrong. And that's where the deployer comes in. And this is the company, the team, the institution that takes the AI out of this lab into this real world. And they decide, okay, this fits our use case. Let's turn it on. And they're responsible for matching the system, to the tasks. Is this high-stakes stuff like medical diagnosis or financial trades? Then you need human oversight, monitoring dashboards, and killing switch. If it's lower risk, maybe less supervision is fine, but the deployer owns the context. They know their environment better than anyone, the data flows, the edge case unique to their operations, the potential fallout. And if they ignore the developer's warnings, disable safety features to cut costs, or deploy without a plan for when things drift off course, then they can't cry foul later. And, we've seen this in practice. Solid tools get rolled out recklessly, and suddenly it's making biased hiring decisions or bad investment calls, and the deployer chose that risk. Now, tie this together with the simple idea: accountability follows control. And think about it. Whoever had the levers to pull at any point owns what happens under their watch. Developer controls, designs, and build. They're accountable there. Deployer controls usage and oversight. That's on them. And don't forget the organization's leadership. They set the governance tone. Did they demand risk assessments? Did they define who respond to incidents? Did they create the audit trail so everyone knows what happened and why? Without that top level clarity, responsibility turns into a game of hot potato, honestly, and that's where the real harm slips through. So what does that mean? Does that matter so much right now? Because as agentic AI gets smarter and more independent, then there's the sneaky risk I call responsibility laundering. People start saying, well, AI acted on its own. It sounds innocent, but it lets human off the hook. Suddenly, no one's asking the tough questions. Was the model validated for the scenario? Was there bias in the data? Did anyone monitor the outputs? Could a human have stepped in? It creates moral distance. The harm feels abstract, like it's the machine's fault. But every step from code to deployment was a human choice. Autonomy doesn't erase that. It amplifies the need for it. And the freer the AI is to act, the tighter we need to grip the reins of oversight. And let me give you a quick example to make it real. Imagine an agentic AI managing supply chains, and it decides to reroute shipments during a crisis. But that causes shortages in a hospital. Dr. Muhammad works in a hospital. So who's accountable? If the developers skimped on training for crisis scenarios, they share blame. If the deployer didn't set geographic safeguards or human veto power, they own it. If leadership greenlit it without stress testing, that's on them. The system just executed. It didn't decide in a vacuum. Now, the good news is we're not flying blind here. Frameworks like the NIST's AI risk management or the EU AI Act lay this out. Developers document risks, deployers monitor and report, and organizations govern. It's practical stuff. Pre-deployment checklist, incident logs, clear RACI charts, and that's responsible, accountable, consulted, informed, and for the uninitiated. So build those in upfront, and you avoid the fog. It is also worth mentioning that while initiatives like the Pax Silica secure the AI stack, accountability frameworks like the GAO and IST handle who answers for systems actions. And so if I have to boil it down, the system is not accountable because it cannot be. It's a tool, it's not a person. And agentic AI does not remove responsibility. It actually raises the bar for it. And the governments and organizations that get this right will be those that treat AI not just as a capability, but as a governance challenge first, and a technology tool second. So that's my take into this.
Amazing. And one word which I've picked with what you said, Lita, it will remain with me is responsibility pondering. I think two words, but carries a lot of meaning these days. The way we want to relook at defining of utilization of AI and agentic AI into our approach. Second, I think wonderful thought you left with all of us by stating about the distinguish between accountability and control. I think that's fabulous, and that's something which a lot of minds have to go behind that when you talk about actually making agentic AI as part of our processes. With that, Dr. Jassim, I'm going to hold on to this thought of accountability and control and take a wonderful view of yours about just guide and let all of us know in this dilemma, how can an organization really create that balance of letting an agentic AI balance the autonomy of doing things and also to balance the control so that the ethical problem is taken care of well. What are your thoughts around it? How it can be done?
Yeah, thank you, Shami, for this opportunity. And my thought onto this, it is not something between a choice of a control or a speed, for example, when it comes to AI design and AI implementation. As a leader in tech, I can see that there's no choice between control and speed. But governance or a control should be embedded within or engineered within the architect of AI tool and system from architect perspective. Being a leader now in the field for 20 years plus on the telecom sector and now recently in the financial sector, both sectors are highly regulated, like telecom and banks, and we learned it the hard way. So you cannot slip of not having governance, but you need to not to remove governance, because removing governance, then you will create a risk at scale. A lot of organization I can see, or the ones that I have discussed with, they are creating a governance layer on top of AI use cases or their AI tool and system. But here in Emirates NBD, we are one of the leading organization when it comes to digital transformation and AI implementation, as we develop everything in-house when it comes to AI use cases. We embedded our governance control within the architect of AI tool and system or AI use cases, and to increase the trust of AI tool and system outcome, and in addition to that, to reduce the human on loop. I can hear that a lot of thought leaders still they think of AI tool and system as a trusted tool, and they expect an AI tool to give them a final decision or to generate for them a final outcome. But think of AI tool and system as a supporting tool for your performance and to augment your performance and your efficiency in the organization, and it is at different level. For example, Taqa in Abu Dhabi, their board of directors, they are using AI tool and system called Q, and that Q, they feed Q with board decision, and Q acts like a consultancy for them based on the geopolitical and different trend and a specific sector. But again, who take the decision? The board of directors themselves. They don't rely 100% on the AI tool and system, but AI, it is used as a supporting tool to have efficiency and effectiveness in their decisions. So when you think from the angle of governance, when it comes to AI or the use of AI, I always recommend three pillars to focus on when you have an AI tool and system to design. First of all, you need to look at your regulation policies. You need to look at your internal governance within the organization. And as a CIO in an organization, you don't need to be 100% a technology guy, but a technology guy with a business mindset as well. So you can correlate on how or what is required from business, what is required from regulatory, and how to design it to have an effective and efficient tool and system for the employees and different section, different department to use and to leverage on and to enhance their outcome and have an effectiveness and efficiency on their KPIs and their targets as well. So you need to look at the design. Then you need to look at the impact of that tool and system from governance perspective. Is that tool requested by business? It has a very high risk. If it is a very high risk, then you need to have it as a third layer to implement. So you need to implement with a tool with the lowest risk and then end up with the high risk. Since if you are thinking of utilizing your engineers on an 80-20 concept, then you need to start with the low risk and end up with the high risk tool and system. And the third and a very important layer and on how to operate an AI tool and system is a continuous monitoring. Because AI tool and system, it has database for indexing, database for vectorization, and then you have the LLM that you train your data on to learn a pattern or learn the pattern of your data. And you need to have a continuous loop of monitoring on the outcome of your AI model from the AI or from the LLM AI perspective to make sure that the AI tool and system doesn't go into that hallucination mode, and it gives the maximum and the most efficient outcome all the time.
Wonderful. I think, Dr. Justin, thank you so much. Few things which definitely hit my mind was about, it's very important when you look at your architecture, it has to be right. And to be your architecture right, you need to embed right controls over it. For that, you need to understand, as you rightly brought out, what kind of regulations you are dealing in, what's your internal governance, the KPIs you want to set in, and most important, how your layers are built in, so that once the AI starts operating on it, it doesn't hallucinate or the results are not hayward. That leads to me something very interesting which just came into my mind, and I'm opening this question to all three of you, saying, and I want to hear your views, that then what kind of a human oversight or governance you would recommend to ensure that the results of implementing of any agentic AI tool or any AI tool is effective, and also the governance and the guardrails are maintained?
You want me to take this, or shall I leave it for the...
I've opened up the floor. Since you're there with me, we'll start with you, followed by Lina, and
let me start. Yeah, let me start with that. If you think of governance as how you are using an AI tool and system, and it's more important, it's what information any regulated organization and sector is the most important is what data you share with your AI tool and system. Most of those regulated organizations, they have a fear of employees sharing personal or customer personal information. And how to maintain that? It's to architect your AI tool and system and equip it with guardrails to prevent, to look at the input from the users and have a sort of a guardrail to prevent answering or prevent taking such input from the system, and at the back end to avoid having your data, since you have a database at the back end, you do the indexing and you do the vectorization. You need to make sure that your data is 100% comply with the government sovereignty. So should be on-prem within the country, and it's not shared with the third party.
Wonderful. Lena, your thoughts?
Sure. I mean, I think that effective governance basically requires a multi-layered approach, which combines strategic oversight, what agents are allowed to do, operational controls, human supervision, permissions, audit and trails, and technical safeguards. I think it goes in line with what my colleague just mentioned. So when we talk about the safeguards, we talk about the built-in constraints, the monitoring, and the secure access. It also might include risk data and lifecycle governance, ensuring compliance, responsible data use, and continuous evaluation from deployment to decommissioning. For me, the most important thing is to have clear human accountability with defined ownership and responsibility for its action and outcomes. And as long as we have that, that is critical for making sure that whatever tools we design and we deploy to serve humanity, do serve humanity based on our human values, because we build the human being. Everything else is tools to serve the human being. So that's my take on this.
Wonderful. Dr. Mansood, very eager to know your thoughts.
Yeah, there are too many things. The new approach or the new era we are exploring at the moment is all about sovereign AI, which doesn't mean sovereign AI deployment. No, it talks about infrastructure, it talks about operating system, it talks about language models. So people are now developing, in Saudi Arabia, Humane has taken an initiative wherein we start building sovereign system, like health system, EHR, which is sovereign to Saudi Arabia, operating system, which is sovereign to Saudi Arabia, the language model, which will be sovereign to Saudi Arabia. One question, I really liked Dr. Lena's presentation. She mentioned that, she break down the responsibility of failures, who will have what kind of responsibility. Say, for example, in today's scenario, I build agentic AI using, say, Claude or as a tool, or say Google Gemini as the brain. Okay, and then all the guardrails in place, everything is in place, everything is sweet. And what if there is an issue with the LLM poisoning, or there is an issue with where say for example Gemini is hallucinating? Then that responsibility nobody is supposed to take within the organization. So there are beyond our control, there are some things we need to think of and we need to plan of. So when we are talking about sovereign AI, there is something I have been talking about since last 10 years almost. I had one paper published in 2016 about urgent need for having a governance framework for AI. So that was in 2016, and I have been talking about it since then. Why can't we have ethical training for any AI agent or any AI algorithm that is born in today's era? So we know as human what are human ethics. Okay, so first thing is any algorithm that is being developed, it needs to be trained ethically before it moves forward. So it has some human values in it, virtually, but it needs to have that inbuilt. So these sovereign system will do that job, as well as the onus is on the technology partners, and even on the language level. I don't know. I mean, it can happen on the language level as when you're training your model in certain direction, it should not allow the guardrails need to be on that level, starting on that level and ending on the deployment level. So these are the areas which we need to cover, because tomorrow's war, or maybe in a decade, wars will be fought through AI. It won't be bombs and all. Everything will be initiated through a click of a button. So that is going to happen. So first thing is, every nation needs to have a sovereign AI. That is one thing. Second thing needs to be, the guardrails needs to be built not only on a organizational level, on a country level, on a governmental level, and on a global level. So these are the things, these are some of the initiatives we are also discussing. I'm a part of AI and innovation in the GAFI Global AI Initiative. So we are talking about these terms as well, and these are the things, and we need to participate as a global delegate for ethical AI. So every human being is a delegate for ethical AI, because this will define our future, whether we are progressing or whether AI destroys us.
Amazing. I think I have got so many thoughts today from all three of you. Wonderful learnings. Just for the group, since I'm keeping a tab also on the time, and I have to stick to my time. If I were to just summarize, I would really want to thank Dr. Jassim, Lina, Dr. Mansoor. It was wonderful to know your views, great insights, and for me, definitely, I'm sure for the people who are there with us, there are a lot of learnings. If I just pick up few words, you look forward either a decision support system or you look forward from a decision giving system. Your ethical AI becomes important, and for make it anything which happens to be ethically right, I think we understood the accountability and control. AI is a tool. Human has to look from a lot of accountability and a control perspective. There are various laws and governance rules which are available today, and as rightly brought it out by Dr. Jassim, and I love that thought that architecture is the key. So you have to embed all important controls over there to ensure that you have the right structure getting placed in, and with that, data protection, operational control, and as rightly brought up by Dr. Mansoor, sovereign AI is very, very important. Just to ensure, Lena, I'm still sticking to that word of responsibility honoring. To conclude, that is the role all of us play today when we look at using artificial intelligence in our work, and ensure that the ethical bar is maintained and controlled from each of our side. Thank you so much. It was wonderful and great. I think it's time for spin. So Shiva, if I have your permission, I can request the Women Lead Congress to get the screen. So they get the spin wheel on the screen. We have one prize, which we want to share with the person. And here it comes. Wow. Alvina Bra, the invisible PM book, Peter Taylor. Lovely. Congratulations to you. It's amazing. I think this is something really great. As I conclude, once again, I thank to my esteemed panelists. I hand over the Italian to Mr. Giri for the next panel. He's there with us on the call. And it's really amazing to see, Mr. Giri now taking over to the next panel. Good evening, Mr. Giri.